Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is getting cold outside. We have a daytime high of minus 12 degrees Celsius and it's dropping down to minus 16 degrees Celsius tonight. I still had some of my tropicals chilling downstairs in the basement where it's about getting down to about 5 degrees Celsius down there now. And I didn't want to leave some of my better trees down there for fear it might get too cold and they might die on me. So I started bringing them up into the plant room today. Here's a look at some of the trees I still have in the basement. My yucca forest, my ponytail palm. There's a few trees like that that I still have to bring upstairs. Right now the temperature in the basement is 5.2 degrees Celsius. And as the temperature drops outside tonight to minus 16, the temperature in the basement here will get even colder. So I'm just worried that, I don't want to lose trees because of the cold. So that's why I'm bringing them upstairs. The first tree that I brought up from the basement was my Ficus microcarpa. It did really well in the cool weather of the basement for that long period of time. So it was down there for November, December, and January, 3 months in the cold. I did have the grow lights above it and it's just done beautifully. It hasn't grown. It has remained insect free and you hardly have to water it, maybe once a week. So yeah, a really good, easy way to store your tropical trees for the winter. I'm quite sure that now that I'm warming this tree up, this tree's just going to explode in new growth. There's all kinds of buds all over it that are just waiting for warm weather and they'll be coming out. And I think I've even seen growth just from today. These buds are swelling. So I think it's going to grow very, very quickly. There's a look at a typical growing tip. You can see the new shoots swelling up, ready to go. I brought the tree into the basement after the summer, so it was full of energy, and it's been sitting dormant for 3 months now, so all that energy is just bursting to get out. And so I'm not going to repot this tree. I'm just going to see how the top reacts. This tree, it's very heavy in the root base and it's too light up top. So I need good growth up top to thicken up all these trunks and branches. Here's a look at the relationship between the root base and the upper trunks. So you can see they're quite thin. They could be thickened up a little more to bring it all into better proportion. The last time that I pruned this tree, I didn't defoliate it. I just followed each branch up and picked my branches and pruned it back, trying to get a nice branch structure. And today there's a lot of new shoots that have grown in and it could use a bit of thinning. There's no point developing branches that you don't want. You want all that energy to go into thickening up the branches that you want to keep, and I'll prune away all the ones that just aren't in a good position. Here's an example of a branch. It comes up, it divides into two, and then up here it has 1, 2, 3, 4 branches coming from one spot. So I'll have to simplify that up. This type of shoot pruning isn't very dramatic. It doesn't really change the appearance of the tree, but it does clean out the structure and you get, better growth in the future because it's not all cluttered up and, all kinds of crossing branches and that. It makes a nice clean tree for the future. I'm going to start the pruning now. And what I do is I just follow each trunk up, follow each branch division and just look at the structure and then prune away anything that's not pointing a good direction. So this branch comes up, it divides into two again, and right from that junction there's another shoot, a third one growing in towards the center of the tree. So I'll remove that, like that. So it's just a new, young little shoot. And then I just keep following the branches up until I reach the outside of the canopy. And if there's no problems, I just leave it alone. This one does have a shoot growing straight up, and I can prune back to some more horizontal branches, so I'll take the tip off like that. And that gets that one branch cleaned up. Here's a shot looking up at the tree so you can see the branch structure that I'm following. I just come up and I follow each branch, looking for crisscrossing branches. So there's one here that could be shortened back to here. starting to interfere with the branch beside it. There's a vertical growth on this branch that could be pruned off. So you just have to look at one branch at a time and just study the structure and make any corrective action. There's a branch here. It comes up and it's a big, long, straight branch. No sub-branching on it, so I'm going to prune it back to here, taking the tip off. I'll continue working away at the tree, and then we'll come back and see how it looks. Here's a look at the cutting room floor. So I didn't take a whole lot off, but I did get a lot of branches corrected, getting them growing in the right direction and removing a lot of branches that were just growing in the wrong places. So cleaning up the structure. Here's a look at the tree now. And like I said, it hasn't really changed much from its outward appearance. But if we go above and look down, I think you'll see it's opened up a little and you'll see more of the branch structure. Here's a shot looking down at the tree, and you can see I'm trying to maintain that oval shape to the tree when viewed from above. I've got a lot of branches that are thin, so they're kind of flowing in outwards directions. I have some branches in the middle that are going almost straight up, and I'll develop those now. They'll thicken up really quickly compared to some of the side branches, so I always leave those till last. Yeah, so I think you'll see this thing really grow in the next few weeks. Just some light work on my Ficus microcarpa for today. Next, I'll get out my Serissa, and we'll see how that's doing. Here's a look at my Serissa. It did really well in the cool basement. There were no problems with any leaves falling off or any dieback. It just kind of stayed dormant, nice and green and healthy looking. While the tree was in the basement, it did start to develop a really nice layer of green moss. Here's a look at how nice and green and healthy the canopy stayed in the cold. So I'm really pleased with this technique of keeping the trees in the cool basement, keeping them dormant for most of the winter. Here's a look at the root base on the tree. And today I'm just going to clean up all the dead leaves that have fallen on the ground here. That's from the summer. And I'll clean up the moss that's growing up the trunks and on the roots. Just doing some general maintenance work to the planting. The pot that the tree is in at the moment is way too big for the tree. However, the tree will grow, and that's my intent, to grow it even larger. I did a layout with a smaller pot, sort of the right size pot for this tree, and it looked really good. I'll show you a picture of that. So someday in the future, I'll display this tree in the correct pot, the perfect color and everything, and yeah, it should look quite nice. I'm just removing this moss that's growing around the roots here. I don't want it climbing up the trunk and discoloring the trunk. I've been training the roots on this tree right from when it was a young cutting till now. So I'm quite happy with the development of the roots. It's getting a nice radial root spread. It looks very natural looking, very tree-like. I see a lot of Serissas with really horrible roots on them. Just like a tangled knot of roots at the base of the tree. And, if that's the style you're going for, it's fine. But if you want it to look like a mature tree gripping the soil, it's good to get a nice radial root base underway. Moss is starting to hide this root base in here. Gotta keep it covered. You don't want to cover up your beautiful roots with moss. I think I'll get a toothbrush and do a bit of brushing too. Get any algae off the trunk. Just clean it up. There's a look at the roots now. I'll continue cleaning up all the leaves that have fallen down on top of the soil, and then we'll come back and have a final look at it. I've got most of the leaves removed from the surface of the soil now, so I'm expecting this tree to just explode in growth in the next few weeks, so I'll keep updates and we'll see what happens with it as it breaks its dormancy. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.